Welcome to the Midweek Tease with me, Adele Onyango, where I share some random and not too random thoughts on things. And in this episode, let's talk about decentering men. This is a term that I came across many years ago at a point when I had such a low sense of self that I didn't fully understand it. I met the term again in therapy, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when I was doing a lot of work in trying to figure out the difference between who I was performing to be and who I really am. And in peeling back those layers, I realized that there were parts of me that either had been conditioned into me so that I could, when I came of age, be chosen by a man. And there were parts of me who were doing things for approval. It became apparent that in trying to be my best, most highest, most free self, I was going to have to unlearn all of those parts. I was going to have to decenter men, right? And let's go back to performing. There was a time that I didn't even realize that I was performing, that I wasn't being me. I was performing for approval. I was performing for acceptance. I was performing within relationships, and I was performing for the male gaze. And I think very many women, like if you are being honest with yourself, you will find that there are very many parts of you that are not really you. It's a performance that you've been socialized into. You are socialized into performing chores or things like cooking or what you wear so that you can increase your chances of being chosen by a man, you know? If you are a woman who finds herself in male-dominated industries and spaces, you second-guess yourself. And if a man happens to confirm that you are qualified or you're good enough, that's when you believe it. You know what I mean? I found that I had anchored my worth in how I was perceived, not in how I felt or who I knew myself to be. And that's the thing about centering men. It turns you into an echo of what you think they want. It steals your voice. And please remember that this is not only in reference to men who you're in an intimate or romantic relationship with. This, especially in an African context, can refer to your father, your uncles, your brothers, because you know, in a cultural, social setup, what they say would hold more weight than what you say purely because you are a woman. Decentering men didn't start for me with a bold Instagram post or a caption. No, as I mentioned earlier, it started quietly in therapy. You know, when I was asked to imagine who I would be if I wasn't trying to please anyone. Who was that Adele? Who was she? And I really found that she was joyful, she was wild, she was creative, she's artistic, she's a hippie, she lives a very free life. She is empathetic and compassionate. She's very decisive. She wants to do something, she's going to get up and do it, you know? She's audacious, you know, and she was me before the world taught me to shrink. And that moment in therapy was my starting point. And let me just say this, unlearning doesn't happen overnight. My goodness, I am still on that decentering and unlearning journey now. You know, there are points you still feel the pull to perform, especially because majority of the world are performing. So that's the norm. So when you go against the norm, there are points where you wonder, is it me? Am I the problem? What am I trying to do here? You know, you still feel the pull to perform, to prove, to be chosen. But over time, your center starts to shift and you start to rely more on who you are and not who people expect you to be. One of the most rebellious things I've done is to laugh without apology, to dress for me, to say no over and over again and not over-explain it, to rest, to take up space, to trust my intuition over somebody else's opinion, and especially over the opinion of a man, to be very clear on the moments in my life where I'm seeking permission and hiding that under seeking advice, to pursue and seek softness especially in a world that tells African women to earn their worth through suffering, to trust in my abilities, in my thoughts, in my dreams, in my desires, and as I said earlier, in my intuition. This is a radical act. And every time I choose me, I feel so much freer. And I just wanted to drop by this week, especially if you're listening to this and you are a woman on that journey to get as close as possible to your highest self. Chances are you're going to have to decenter men. And where do you start? Start by asking yourself, who am I becoming? Not just what am I doing? Another thing you can do this week, please, I implore you to do this. Write a list of women you admire. And then break down what values do they embody? What are these things that, attract you to these women? Are they ambitious? Are they outspoken? Are they so entrepreneurial? Are they good with money? Do you like their confidence? Write down all of those things. And then choose one small act this week that honors you, who you really are, not somebody else's gaze. It could be something that brings you joy. It could be finally saying no to that person who is really trying to just mess with your boundaries. It could be intentionally resting. What is that small act that you will do this week that honors you? And then remind yourself, the woman you are without performance is enough. Is even more than enough if you ask me. And I really hope that this resonates with you, especially if you are a woman who knows there's more to your life than sitting around waiting to be chosen and being groomed so that you can be chosen. You were never meant to be someone's accessory. You were meant to be whole. You were meant to be powerful. You were meant to be centered in yourself. And if this midweek tease resonates with you, share it with another woman. Because honestly, I do not think you can get closer to being your truest self without unpacking the chapter of decentering men. And the last thing I will say is, decentering men is not synonymous with hating men. It is knowing that you've got to choose you for who you are, not for who society has said men prefer you to be. Thanks for listening to the Midweek Tease, a Legally Clueless Africa production. Episodes go out every Wednesday, and you can learn more about us by going to legallycluelessafrica.com.